So let's get into it. First off, hey everybody, it's your girl Kim Dynasty Radio NY. I'm here with my co-host and very best friend, very sweet Lika. And today we're interviewing Lisa Sanchez, author of, is the book called Just Dig Into It?
No, the book is called Looking for Love in a Garbage Can, A Journey of Healing, How I Survived an Alcoholic Environment. And I'm looking at Very Sweet's face like, did you say that?
Yes. I need that.
Looking for Love in a Garbage Can. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Yes, because I did take a glimpse off your website. So I have tons of questions. First of all, where are you from?
I am from Los Angeles, California, born and raised, never left this place.
Okay. So now, did you know you was going to go into writing, and have you done writing before now, or?
So writing became a passion of mine. It became a safe place for me. I got wrapped up in the written word just because of my lived experiences growing up in my environment. So I always went to journaling, talking about my feelings. And then over time, this just turned into my book.
Nice. Okay. It seems like I don't know, is it getting a little choppy? Because we got a storm here.
I feel like it's fine on my end.
That's fine. Just okay. Know I love the title of your book because you got to catch people, and you caught my eye. I was like,
I saw you.
I love it.
I saw you. Yeah, looking for love in a garbage can.
So now you talk about growing up in an alcoholic environment. What was that like for you?
So at the age of 6, I knew something was wrong in my household. I just couldn't figure out what it was. It seemed like Daddy was always mad. And when Daddy was mad, he would break things, he would hit my mother, and I just knew I was scared. I developed these knots in my stomach anytime Daddy was mad, right? And it wasn't until as I got older, I would say pre-adolescence, maybe teenage years, that I could begin to recognize that anytime Dad took a beer out of the refrigerator, it changed him. And it just made me sick to my stomach. And I didn't know the name alcoholism. It wasn't until much older that we learned that drinking is a disease if it is done too much, and then it leads to alcoholism. So I was a little girl when I knew that something was different in my home.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. So now, okay, real quick, are you guys able to see me? Because you're frozen on my end.
We can see you just fine. Not frozen at all.
Okay. So now, at any time, because I know a lot of times children often feel this way, at any time did you feel like someone other than Dad was at fault? Like maybe you may have played a part in his anger. Did you ever feel like that?
So I never felt like I was at fault. What happens in this environment, in particular when there are multiple siblings, the youngest one tends to be the pleaser, the one that wants to keep the peace in the house. So I was constantly checking my mother. Did you spend too much? Is dinner ready? Did Dad come home to see another brown envelope? Now, what is a brown envelope? Back in the day, Bank of America, when you overdrew your account, used to send you one of those nasty grams, and it would be a brown envelope, and my dad would just blow a gasket. And so I always thought it was my mother's behavior. And so I found myself checking her because she was causing Dad to be mad, right? But of course, as you get older and you understand what's happening, you realize it's not your mother at all. It is the disease of alcoholism that is causing these behaviors. So I was the pleaser, the fixer, keep everything quiet in the home, all of it. And that is a heavy burden to carry as a kid, as a teenager, and even as an adult.
Yeah, that load. Like my youngest is the same way, and she's going to school, and she leaves. We leave. Kim and I, we're doing a road trip to take my youngest. She was going to FAMU.
Nice.
COVID hit, and then now she's going back, and she's getting an apartment, and she's that way. But I didn't want her to feel like because of what was going on around her to stop her
Yes.
from what she needs to do. So I can see she's that type of person, the pleaser, to try to make sure everything is good. And it's like, but then now I feel like you need to focus on you and doing the things that make you happy. The things around here are gonna be, but you got to focus and do things again for your own life.
It's true. That's where that self-care, self-love, self-empowerment comes in. I lived for years and years in shame and in blame, embarrassment. The kids knew in our neighborhood that something was wrong. One time my dad chased my mother out of the house and beat her in public. And we became sort of the laughing stock of the neighborhood. You know, I write this in my book. Frankie was the kid in the neighborhood that would say, we saw your dad do this, bam, bam, bam to your mother. That's embarrassing. And so you learn to walk through life concealing and holding in and not talking about what's happening. And so I describe in my book that I showed up as a counterfeit, a fraud, because I had this outward appearance. My mother always decked us out in the nicest clothes and the nicest shoes with matching purses and all of that. But at home, we were living in hell. And so I lived a facade.
Now, on your website, it says you're a mother. Are you also married?
I never married. And I had my son at the age of 19, and I'll never forget when I told my father at 6 months pregnant, because I was always sort of a little skinny mini, didn't show my pregnancy until my 6th month. And my dad said, you will never be anything in life.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
And so imagine, you know, when we start talking about the things that we believe, or they call them limiting beliefs, we begin to believe that, then that's how we live our lives. But I will say this, my dad left this earth so proud of me, because at that mindset, even though I was struggling in the home with my father, I always knew I was headed somewhere. I always knew that. There was always that North Star. And so imagine this environment where you are bombarded with almost daily, weekly, your house being turned upside down because of your alcoholic father chasing you out of the house with a gun, having to live in your car, sleep in your car, knock on the door of your family member at 2 a.m. That colliding with, I gotta go to college. I've got to somehow figure out how I'm going to finish college. Oh my gosh, now I have a baby at 19. How am I going to do this? And I found a way. I don't know where it came from. The strength, the perseverance, the determination, but I found a way through it.
And the thing about it is, you use what you went through, and that was your motivation to be successful.
Yes.
And sometimes, and I say that, even in my life, Kim life, like we have to take in all that BS that we went through to motivate us to say, you know what, I want more, I'm gonna do more, and no matter what, I'm gonna get more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No matter what. I think about sort of an obstacle course where you're trying to trudge forward, but things are collapsing in front of you, right? Here comes a car, then a tree collapse, and then, here comes the deer.
All kind of obstacles.
All kind of things. And you have got to stay the course. Stay the course. And that really is my platform right now. It is being self-empowered to stay the course, no matter how difficult.
Now, did your family dynamic, the relationship you had with your dad, as well as, his position in the family, with the violence and with the alcoholism, did that affect you in your relationships as you got older?
Woo, boy, did it ever. I was
Ooh.
so ill prepared to enter this life. My
Mm,
self-esteem, my self-worth, my self-values were fractured. I describe in the book, lower than the curve. And so what does that mean? You allow people, things to come into your life that have no business. Your gift of discernment does not exist. And so part 2 of my book is all of those relationship challenges. Now listen, people will get a good laugh out of this book. So yes, my journey is tough, but people have said, and girl, you are so funny because I infuse comedy and laughter and funny things in my story because you won't believe half of the relationship issues I got myself into. But
mm,
when you heal from the inside out, when you forgive those who hurt you in your life, you just open up a world for yourself that you never even knew existed before. And so now I've got the gift of discernment. I know now that there are people that you just hose them down from the street, but you never let them in your house. You know what I'm saying?
I tell you.
Man.
You know, your home becomes your castle. You get to decide who comes in. It's all of that. But my relationships were messy. I was insecure. I cried a lot. You said boo, and I was boo, you know, just crying all the time. And it was a relationship in my mid to late 40s, 46, 47 years old, where the guy dropped me like a bad habit. And I thought I could not go on. What would I do in life without this man? That's how I was thinking. And it was that relationship that woke me up. It was the awakening, like, girl, you've got to get it together. And
Yeah.
so so this is all about choices.
Mm.
I chose to work on my healing. What I say in the book is my cure for a breakup was finding the next person to take the last man's place. That
Mm,
comes from a place of insecurity. I was
yeah.
using my addiction to relationships to fill a void in me. And all
Mm.
of that stems from how I grew up, my relationship with my dad, childhood trauma. I talk about sexual assault and molestations in my book because that happened to me. And
Wow.
so I describe myself as Swiss cheese. You know, the Swiss cheese has the holes. And so I was
Hmm.
stuffing those holes with men and people and material possessions, things that were not filling my soul in the proper way. And when you go on your journey of healing, realize that you've got to not insert those things into to those empty holes. You've got to work
Right.
on loving you, self forgiveness, self love, self care, and just building your strength from the inside out.